in 4 female and 1 in 8 males are victims of sexual abuse in New Zealand. And it's suggested in our community that this is even higher. Research supports that victims who receive the social support of their family, friends and community are more resilient, recover faster and have better outcomes. Yet despite this, we live in a community where victims and their families are actively discouraged from coming forward, where those who do are intimidated in the streets and on social media, where young victims attempt suicide after being made to sit in the same room with their convicted rapist and pressured to forgive them, where rapists are given more support by the community than the rape victim because, quote, they're victims too. Considering that most sex offenders are male and the majority of victims are female, these beliefs that support rapists are gender-based discrimination and are in direct violation of the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women and the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So the question to the candidates: do you recognise the critical need to build support for victims of sexual violence in the community? If so, how do you plan to do this?
It is absolutely critical that the victims of crime, especially violent crimes and sexual crimes like this, are looked after. Something like that, I can't fathom how devastating it is and that affects every aspect of your life. And if, God forbid, you're subjected to something like that, you need every chance, every opportunity you can, and all the support you can to put things back together, because it's one of the worst things that can happen to someone, and by all means, victims need all the support they can get. One of the most fundamental things with ACTS is their law and order policy, and that the rights of the victims must always outweigh the rights of the perpetrators. And especially with the serious crimes like that, most of you would have heard of the 3 strikes policy for violent offenders. So the key thing is with recidivist offenders, and especially of violent and sexual crimes, that they are locked away properly and that the victims are supported. It is absolutely critical that the victims get all the support they need when recovering from something like this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary, whoever wants to answer. Mary.
Hey, I spent 14 years in the police as a detective, and I dealt with sexual violence crimes on a weekly basis. Sorry.
It's okay, mate. You just hang in there.
It's good, mate.
So I'm not putting this on.
No, you care. Thanks.
That's ultimately why we do this, because it's pretty hard to take.
Take a deep breath.
So anything that advances victims of sexual abuse, 100% support.
Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah, it goes without saying, victims of any sort of assault, and particularly sexual violence, need to be supported and must be. I would say my colleague Joan Logie is one of the loudest voices in Parliament around issues of domestic and sexual violence, which is not to say that other parties don't also share an abhorrence for that. It's very difficult. With the utmost respect to Matt, the police culture has changed dramatically over the last decade. Again, with the utmost respect to his obvious personal feeling for this matter, the police 10 years ago did not have the understanding or the training or often the culture that supported victims of sexual violence, and that has changed dramatically. And I believe that's a good thing, and I believe serving officers would reflect that. It's been taken more seriously, as it should be, and I think generally in the wider society, the wider community, there's much less tolerance now for domestic violence, particularly sexual violence. A lot of the long-term solution is the way we bring up our young men. If we tolerate sexism, if we tolerate the idea that women are just there for amusement of young men, well, we're going to compound the problem further down the track. Understanding, respecting everybody for who they are and for what they are, particularly our young men who often sadly, and I say this having grown up in a time where, yes, we did talk about women in ways that were incredibly derogatory actually, and I think we need to educate and bring up our boys better than that. We have some of the solutions, not all of them. Some of them are dealing with violence that's happening here and now, supporting the likes of the refuges, the women's refuges, which are running on fumes and fresh air because they don't have the resources they need to do their job and protect women well. We need to restore some of the resourcing there, but longer term it's actually about none of us tolerating sexual or domestic violence and making it very clear. I don't have my white ribbon on today, but I'm actually a white ribbon ambassador, so I take that stuff really seriously.
The answer to the question, frankly, is that we have to support the victims of sexual violence in every way we possibly can, and it requires a far greater investment from the state to do that.
Yes.
But let me just say this here. What we've got to do is get there before the event and ensure there is prevention. And to do that, you've got to ensure that, particularly in male society, there's ostracization of that sort of behaviour. And having said that, we've got to ensure that in the worst part of this society, where the offence is taking place, and I have to put my hand up here, is in the Maori and Polynesian world. The cone of silence has got to stop.
Yes.
We've got to make a statement that we will not accept that sort of behaviour. It's just like racism itself. In this case, it's sexism of the very worst sort, and people have regarded it as acceptable. The day that men say this won't do, in terms of the company in which you keep in this family and this community, is the day we'll start turning this around.
Well, being affected by such horrible stuff, domestic violence, incest, it does come down to the mindset of our society.
Yeah.
Also having our governments, whoever it is, has to make it a priority to resource centres, wellbeing centres for our victims, having the right counsellors available to do the right training to be a good counsellor, because sometimes there are bad counsellors out there.
Oh yeah.
So we're sort of caught in between a hard rock and a hard rock. Yeah, it's really, really a touchy subject, and men have got to actually take the incentive to prove they respect us. And us women have still got to stand up and show them we need the respect, we deserve the respect, because we are the childbearing partners of this. We're the ones that give birth to our children. We're the ones that bring up our children when dad's out working. If you're lucky enough to have one person working, most families these days, who's at home? It's just the kids. And of course the kids are going to get up to mischief because they've got no one to supervise. And that, to me, is the revolving door. If you're a victim, you're usually going to be a perpetrator. And that's the sad part. Very sad part. So, as a victim,